Happy New Year! Hello, this is Manny Ramos, your host of Rise Up, Real Issues and Stories of Every One of Us podcast. But first, let me talk about who we are. I'm Manny Ramos, a board member of PNAA and a past president of the Philippine Nurses Association of Central Florida. I'm a professor of nursing at Valencia College in Orlando and an adjunct faculty at William Patterson University. With me today is my co-host, Mindy Ofiana. Mindy?
Hello, Manny. Happy 2022,
Hi.
everyone. I'm Mindy Ofiana, Legislative Committee Chair for PNAA and Corresponding Secretary for PNAA Foundation, past President for PNAA Southern California. Good news! Recently, I accepted an adjunct professor role of Charles R. Drew University Department of Medicine and Sciences. Manny?
Congratulations, Mindy.
Thank you.
All right, so we are thankful we made it to 2022. Now it's been 2 years of COVID being in our midst. The cases continue to increase rapidly across the United States. To date, we are approaching the 60 million mark of total cases of COVID, and more than 800,000 have died because of COVID. While the vaccination rate has increased, over 700,000 new cases were reported this month, more than doubling the January 2021 peak. The Omicron variant drives the latest surge in cases. This latest surge is very problematic. There's a very high level of community transmission, and hospitalization are rising. The increase in cases and hospitalizations are expected to stress the healthcare system in the coming weeks. Our guest is Dr. Sigrid Ladores, Associate Professor and Director of the Ph.D. program at the School of Nursing at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. Sigrid is an Associate Scientist for the UAB Cystic Fibrosis Research Center, Center for Minority Health and Health Disparities, Center for Women's Reproductive Health, and the Center for Palliative and Supportive Care. Sigrid is also involved in various professional and community organizations. Currently, Sigrid is the president of the Philippine Nurses Association of Alabama and the chair of the PNAA Research Committee, where she established an inaugural grant funding program to support the research of PNAA members.
So, Sigrid.
Welcome, Sigrid.
Welcome. Where in the Philippines did you grow up?
First, I want to say thank you to both Manny and Mindy for inviting me to this Rise Up episode. It's truly an honor being with both Manny and Mindy, who are leaders in PNAA. It's going to be a great podcast, hopefully.
Yes.
So one question from Mindy is, where did I grow up? So I grew up in Iloilo.
Oh.
So I am Ilongga.
Ilongga.
And for those of you listening at night, I will say maayong gabi sa inyo tanan. And happy to be here. So I came to the U.S. when I was 15, which means that I am deeply rooted in my Ilongga ways. And my husband and kids will tell you that even when I'm mad, sometimes my melodic musical voice and my tones don't indicate that I'm mad, because that's what we're known for in Iloilo. So yeah, I came when I was 15, and it was definitely a transition to come as a teenager. And then 2 years after landing in New Jersey, in the cold of New Jersey, I went to college in Philadelphia on my own as a 17-year-old, trying to figure out, what America is all about and what nursing school in America is all about.
So how was that? So you were pretty much teens. That's high school already, right, Sigrid, when you came in here?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I completed 2 years of high school in New Jersey, then graduated before going to college and having that college experience in West Philadelphia.
Did your whole family emigrated?
So yes, we were granted papers as a family to emigrate here. It was my father's sister who petitioned us as a family. So it took 15 years to actually get our papers approved, which meant that when I was born, that's when they decided to file the papers, and it took that long to get approved. And because of such long wait, my older brother and my older sister actually were left behind. It was out of the 4 siblings, only 2 of us were able to come because of the age limit.
Right.
So they were over the age of 21 at the time that our papers were approved. And so they had to stay behind in the Philippines. But thankfully, they're both nurses, and they were able to be sponsored by hospitals. And so they came, rather quickly as soon as we came as a family.
Wow.
So, who inspired you to become a nurse?
Well, to tell you the truth, Mindy, I did not want to be a nurse. Don't tell
Same here.
anyone. It's our secret. I did not want to be a nurse because everybody around me was already a nurse. You've heard that story, right?
That's right.
All my aunties were nurses. My cousins were all nurses. My sister, my brother, they're all nurses. So I wanted to be different. I wanted to do something different and be other than a nurse. So initially I wanted to be in journalism. I liked to write in high school. So I thought, why don't I do that for a living? But my very pragmatic Filipino father said, how are you going to pay the bills as a writer, right? How are you going to put food on the table without a steady job as a writer? So I remember having, discussions, debates, filling out those college applications, and him saying, well, I think nursing is the way to go for you. I know it's not particularly top of your list, but it's a very good way, an honest way to make a living. And so he negotiated with me. He said, compromise with me. If you would spend one semester, just one semester, giving it your best to see if nursing might be a fit for you, try it out. And I said, well, I can do anything for a semester. All right. It's a short amount of time. And so, thankfully, I listened to my dad's practical advice. And when I went to Philadelphia, I was accepted into the best nursing school in the country, which is University of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And it was a wonderful opportunity, really. Something that, at that time, I didn't even realize what a big deal it was. Because I didn't know. I didn't know what Penn nursing was. And its reputation. I just knew it was a good nursing school, and I wanted to be away from New Jersey, and I wanted to try living on my own. So I said for a semester I could do it. And then if I hated it, my dad said you could transfer out and you could get into the journalism major. But here I am.
Look at you now.
5 years later, being a nurse and still loving it and loving the ability to do many different things in nursing. So to my dad, if you ever get to listen to this podcast, salamat gid. Thank you for pushing me in the right direction, even though I didn't know it at that time. And what's really funny is that being a Ph.D. prepared nurse and being a professor and a researcher, I do a lot of writing. So I write all the time. So he knew it, I guess, more than I did, earlier than I did, that this is where I really needed to be. So it all worked out thanks to the wisdom of my dad and just, blessed that I was able to do what I'm able to do.
That's good.
How do they say it? Fathers
knows best.
Fathers know best.
Know best. That's right.
True.
That's right.
Very true.
Okay, well, Sigrid and I have known each other since 2007 when she joined the Philippine Nurses Association of Central Florida here in Orlando. And at that time, she brought her husband to her initial meeting with PNACF. Now,
Mhm.
Sigrid, could you share how you and Andrew met?
Oh, this is another secret that I'm divulging on PNAA webcast. Lots of secrets being shared here today.
That's good.
Andrew, that's good, right? Andrew and I, it's no longer a secret, obviously. My husband and I met when he was my patient. So I was his nurse. He was my patient. I was a pediatric nurse working on a pediatric unit, but he's a grown man. He was, I believe, 22, 23 years old when we met.
Yeah.
And I could not stand him. Oh my goodness. I did not like this man at all. So much so that I went to my nurse manager and I said, I refuse to go back into that room. I do not want to take care of this patient. He is way too much for me.
Way too much.
Asking for my phone number and trying to get a date. And I said, no, that's not how it works. But he'll share with you when he comes on that, he was born with a genetic disease called cystic fibrosis. And so at that time, pediatric nurses and doctors were really the ones who are experts in providing CF care. And so even adult patients with CF came to the pediatric unit. And that's how we met. I did not try to swipe a baby and date a younger patient who was older than me. And at that time, I really did not like him, but it took a while for him to convince me that he's a good guy and that I should give him a chance. And when I left the hospital and he was no longer my patient, that's when we started dating. And here we are, married 22 plus years.
Wow.
We have 2 boys who are awesome, and you'll get to meet them as well. So, thanks, Manny, for divulging yet another secret.
That's right. That's right.
So, is it possible for our listeners and viewers to meet Andrew? Is Andrew home?
Yes, Andrew is here.
How are you, Andrew?
Come on, Andrew. He's slow tonight. He's very tired from working.
I see.
But he is here. He's coming over, hobbling over is more like it.
So for the
there he is.
Where? Oh, hi! I
Hi,
can see.
Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. Hi, Andrew. For the purpose of our listeners, just so you know that Andrew is a lung transplant recipient. So for the both of you, how did COVID impact Andrew, and were there implications to your family?
Me?
Yes, that's for you.
I get to speak.
Yes.
I've been given permission. Well, hello, everybody.
Hi.
It's nice to be here. Thank you for having us. COVID has thrown a curveball, to say the least. It has caused us to have to balance a lot of different concerns, and from do we send our children to school and risk them bringing something home, to where I may work, where Sigrid may work, and who we are around and what we do day to day, even something as simple as going to the grocery store. When we go to try and limit exposure to people. COVID has, some pretty far-reaching implications that we had to consider because we truly didn't know how it would affect primarily me,
Right.
because of my immunocompromised status.
Right. And how was it then during that time? Because initially there were a lot. Well, the vaccination rate now is higher, but at the time it wasn't. It wasn't where it is now, and even now it still is a big issue. So, yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, so at the beginning, right at March of 2020, I can remember going to pick up our youngest son from his daycare, his preschool, and the last day, everyone explained, okay, well, schools are going to shut down, the daycare's shutting down, and everybody kind of made it seem like it was a temporary thing. But it just didn't really feel that way at the same time. And I can remember that we had friends going to the stores for us because at that point, of course, there were no vaccines. There was no potential actual treatment if you were to catch COVID. And it looked like we lived in that scene from E.T. where they rush the house and everybody's got hazmat suits on and nobody wants to touch anything and nobody's sure of anything. Friends were going to the store for us and they would drop food off at our front step. And then we had like a system where our older son and Sigrid would glove up and mask up and go out there with hand sanitizer and Lysol spray, spray all the boxes and the bags before they could come in the house. It was a production because we just didn't know, how contagious it was and how sick you might get if you do contract it. So it was a little overwhelming at first. And I would say for the first at least 6 months, at least 6 months, and it could have been longer. We really didn't leave the house. That's pretty much when I say we were confined to the home, we were pretty much confined, and we had to figure out how to do activities where we weren't around someone just for our sanity, and so. We would take to weird habits like going for a drive in the car at 11 at night. Just to get out of the house. Literally just to physically get outside of the four walls of your home. We started to do outdoor activities, but even that, you'd see someone like at a park or if we went on a hike, and it was strange. You would stay, 15, 20 yards from people. I mean, it was really kind of odd. And so you made do, really, is what you did. You hunkered down, you made do. You got to know your family really well, really well.
It's a lot of togetherness.
And so it was, I would say that we're living in such a unique time for a lot of reasons. And medically, if you are interested in organisms and biology and just the evolution of things, frankly, it's a fascinating time. And I happen to find that area interesting. So it's truly a marvel to watch this virus mutate and grow and change.
That's true.
And how we have to do the same.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think that togetherness is something that is positive with regards to the family in itself. So when the vaccines for the age group for Asher and Cooper came about, what were your decisions and your thoughts about it?
It was a simple decision. It was let's get on the list like right now. Like yesterday, we needed to be top of the list. And thankfully, with the work that I do, I'm surrounded at UAB with the top researchers in immunology, in virology, and epidemiologists. And so, we're constantly being given this information about the vaccine development and its safety profile. So I knew going in that this mRNA vaccine was going to be safe and effective. And, I have colleagues all over the country who actually participated, their children participated in the clinical trials. And so they would give us information about their experiences. And so there was not even a discussion. We're like, okay, where is the fastest way that we could get a vaccine for our then 13-year-old? It wasn't a question of, you know, is he going to get it? It's a matter of when can we get it the fastest? And so we did. We searched around and got him vaccinated, I think, within the week that it was approved.
Yeah, so that's Asher. Is Asher there with you? Can we also hear from him?
Yes, he is. And I actually asked him to brush his hair. Manny.
Hey, Asher. How are you?
Hi, hello. Nice meeting you.
So when your mom said, okay, mom and dad said that, okay, Asher, it's time for you to get the vaccine. What were your thoughts?
I wasn't against it. The only thing I had against it was the needle, but
yeah, he's not a fan of needles.
Yeah.
I would be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And once you receive it, how were you?
I was just fine.
Yeah.
The side effects were just having like a small cold for like a day and a half.
Yeah.
A sore arm.
A sore arm.
And then yesterday, what did you have?
Yesterday I had a booster.
Yay.
Oh, yes.
Yay. Good job, Asher.
It was just like the first dose.
Yeah.
Just a sore arm and a little cold.
Now, are you hearing from your friends? You know, do you know how are they as far as their vaccination is concerned?
They're pretty much against it, but
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, we live in the part of the country in Alabama where their vaccination rate is unfortunately low. And so I think hopefully, you know, doing this podcast and, you know, just talking to more people about the importance of getting vaccinated and the protection that it offers, you know, hopefully they'll listen to, you know, the 14-year-old next to me saying it's okay, you know, it's safe and, you know, it's worth the discomfort in your arm for a day or two.
Yeah. Now you do have another brave soul over there, and his name is Cooper. Let's meet Cooper.
He's ready for you, Tita
He's
Manny.
ready for us.
He definitely even brushed his hair.
Oh, wow.
And he had product in his hair.
Oh, wow.
Did you borrow some
He
product
wanted
from?
to do his hair.
Well,
Oh, wow.
Hi.
Hey,
Nice
Cooper.
meeting you, Cooper.
How are you?
Hi.
I saw your video when you got your shot, right? Your vaccine. Yeah. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Tell us about that time when you got the vaccine,
The first one.
the first one. How did it feel?
A little painful, but I couldn't feel it. I could only feel it a little bit.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Were you afraid?
Yeah, a little bit, but I didn't cry.
Oh,
You didn't
that's
cry.
nice.
Oh.
That's so nice.
Who was there with you when you got it? Who brought you? Mom.
Mom.
Yes.
That's right.
Now, how about your classmates? Do you know if they went to get the vaccine?
One of them I know for sure.
Uh-huh.
One of my friends,
Uh-huh.
Your best friend, right, is
Yeah.
vaccinated?
Oliver.
Yes.
Oliver.
Tell them, did you get your second shot?
Yes.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
How was it?
Good. I could feel it a lot that time.
Oh.
Meaning more painful?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
But you did great.
Yeah.
Yep. You just had a sore arm, right?
Did you cry?
And then,
No.
Cooper's so brave that he lended his support to his Wowo
Oh, yeah,
When
yes.
Wowo got his vaccine, isn't that right,
Right.
Kipper?
Oh, wow.
Whoa, his grandpa
What did
got
you
his
say?
shot.
Oh,
What?
And remember that, Coop?
oh,
Did you
wow.
rub Wowo's arm to make sure that he knows it's okay? What did you do for Wowo?
I encouraged him.
You encouraged him.
Oh,
Yep.
that
Mhm.
is so nice to hear.
Yeah, I held his hand, and I told him when the shot was about to go in.
Oh,
Mhm.
Yep. And you told him it's going to be okay,
It's
right?
gonna be okay. That's right. I do remember seeing that post that you did.
Mhm.
So, could you tell us a little bit about that story, Sigrid? Because it was at the time wherein, initially, right, when the COVID, cases were rising, you had to make a decision about your father.
Yes, yes. So, COVID really impacts the vulnerable, right?
Mhm.
We're talking about the elderly, the
Right.
younger patients,
Yes.
and those with chronic illnesses or comorbidities. So
Yeah.
we have a little bit of everything in our house, right? Andrew with his lung transplant, I've got
Right.
young kids, and with my dad is in his 80s. And
Mhm.
so when the pandemic hit, when it first started to become a problem back in March of 2020, he was visiting from the Philippines. He was in Florida
no.
Right.
with my siblings.
Yeah.
But my brother and my sister and my sister-in-law, they're all nurses.
Yeah.
And so they were frontliners taking care of
That's true.
COVID positive
That's true.
patients.
Yes.
And very quickly, we realized that in order to protect my dad,
Mhm.
we needed to swoop in and get him from Florida.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I did. I drove from Alabama, drove straight to Florida and met my sister at a meeting point. And she delivered the goods, the package. And I received the package. She got out of her car, got into my car. And just, we did what we had to do to make sure that my dad has limited exposure, because staying in Florida with my siblings who still had to go to work, and
Right.
take care of patients, it was a very risky proposition. So he
Right.
stayed with us for 6 months.
Oh,
Yes.
And that's what Andrew was talking about, being creative with what we can do. There's 5 of us in a house, and
Right.
it's 24/7 of
Right.
togetherness.
That's right.
so he's back.
And
I see that he's back. He's back.
Yes, but
He's here with you?
he went back. Yeah, he went back to the Philippines again just a couple of days ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Because of the typhoon. The recent typhoon damaged our house in
Mm.
Iloilo.
Oh.
So he had to go back to make sure that the repairs are done.
I
Yeah.
see. I see.
So I'll add to the story in that when Sigrid had to go to Florida to get Pop,
Uh-huh.
to show you how we thought of COVID back then,
Mhm.
Florida had mandated they were going to close their border,
Oh, that's right.
and so this was the day before the border got closed.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Sigrid had to drive all day. She drove like 20 hours
Yeah.
to get
Mhm.
there and back because she had to leave the state also
Mhm.
Oh, I see.
because they weren't going to let
Yeah.
anybody out either.
That's right.
Right.
So, but that's how you were asking how COVID impacts us.
Mhm.
It really altered how you had to think about just your day-to-day routines and the things we really do take for granted in a free society.
Yeah.
Just being able to come and go,
I see.
meet,
Right.
gather.
Yeah.
It's been changing. It's been a life change how you think
Yeah.
of things and what you appreciate.
Right.
And we are, of course, still very mindful
Mhm.
that we are lucky, blessed, fortunate, all the synonyms,
Mhm.
that we are here, healthy, knock on wood, many wood, healthy, with the ability to still work,
Right.
Being a university faculty member, I'm able to work from home most of the time. And Andrew, being an attorney, he's able to work from home most of the time. And, the kids made it work despite being at home doing school for that year and a half. Asher had a harder time with it compared to Cooper. But they were really troopers, and they understood that there are certain things we had to do as a family to keep us safe.
Right.
And make sure that the whole family, has the protection that it needs to be sustainable.
So, Sigrid,
the protection
as
that we need.
moving forward with all the different changes, higher vaccination rate, so forth and so on, what is your outlook of this moving forward with the family that you have and the future, I would say?
Well, I'll give you my truly honest and maybe wishful thinking is that we'll get people to get vaccinated and do the right thing, and it may not be because solely for your own protection, but you have to think about the people around you, your neighbors, your grandparents, who are really truly vulnerable. My hope and my wish and my prayer is that people get vaccinated and maintain masking, because that's really the only way to get through this. But knowing that there's significant divide in our country, I don't know if that's really going to happen, Mindy. I'm just a little bit. I'm an optimistic person.
I know.
My husband would know that sometimes to a fault. But this pandemic that's now getting into its second year, it's shown us that we can't seem to get our act together. And that's unfortunate, as a collective society. And we just have to, I think, learn to live with it, because it seems like, this virus is very smart and it's resourceful. So it's going to continue to mutate and become even smarter. So we have to, I think, learn to live with it, just like, unfortunately, we've had to learn to live with a flu.
Yeah. That's right.
So, Sigrid, with the Omicron causing a huge rise in cases, what impacts have you seen on the healthcare and the workers there in Alabama?
Well, this new variant has really done significant damage to healthcare systems, but also the healthcare providers, taking care of these folks who are getting sick. So daily here at UAB, we get snapshots of the infectivity rates, right? How many people are hospitalized, of which how many are vaccinated and not vaccinated. We get those numbers daily, released by UAB Health System. Who are in ICUs, the number of people on ventilators, who are vaccinated and not vaccinated. So we have those numbers. And Omicron really has been a doozy, if there's no other term for it. We thought Delta was bad, right? And then we get hit by this variant that I don't think we're ready for. I remember the announcement by our university president, who said, oh, we're doing such a great job with our vaccination rate. UAB actually, over 90% of their healthcare workers are vaccinated. That's huge. That's over 90%. And we're very proud of that. But Omicron came. And so I remember it seemed like it was a one day of just pure glee and happiness that we could take off our mask in the building. There was a big announcement that we did not have to wear a mask. We could eat together in a room without a mask. And then that got all taken away within a week. because of the increased numbers again that we were
Right.
seeing. First by Delta and now by Omicron.
Right.
And so Omicron is really, we're exhausted. That's the plain truth, is that our nurses, our doctors, our respiratory therapists, our environmental staff, everybody, we're tired. Those in the hospitals are tired, constantly getting exposed and risking taking home the virus to families and loved ones. So it's a serious drain to our healthcare system. We're now seeing results of home COVID tests that you can't even find
Right.
in Walgreens or CVS or Walmart, right? And there's price gouging if you ever do want to get your hands on a home COVID test. You can't get them. And it's a really sad testament of where we are. And I don't have an answer for it. I'm with everybody feeling the pain, the drain, the exhaustion, the stress. I think, our family, we do the best that we can to keep safe. And I have a very good mask wearer in Cooper. He wears a mask at school, even outside, even when his kindergarten teacher tells him that it's okay to take it off. Do you take your mask off, Koopy, at school?
Sometimes. Most of the time, I just keep it on.
Yes, he takes it off when he's eating, but that's about it. And so, we do the best that we can. We try to boost each other's spirits.
Yeah.
And they know me coming from the Philippines. I try to tell them that it could be a lot worse for us, Be mindful that we have a lot of blessings compared to the other people around the globe who don't have access to medicine, to testing, to healthcare like we do. Sometimes this one here on my right, Asher, rolls his eyes at me when I tell him that, his mama came from really meager means, and he should be thankful that he has what he has. But I think, putting things in perspective, doing the right thing in what we can do, what we have control over, and being still positive and shining light in the world when we can.
So, what are your colleagues saying about Omicron and new variants?
Well, I think there's bad news on that I think this virus is going to keep mutating. I don't know if you guys saw the recent report that there might be, I don't know if these reports are indeed valid, but they're investigating it right now, that it seems like seems to be a combination Delta and Omicron.
Deltacron.
Yes, right. That they've now mutated into one super variant. And so, gosh, I really don't know, but we're all in this together, and we're tired, but we're trying to be positive and doing what we can to educate those who still aren't convinced that this is a virus that they should be taking seriously, and to mask up and take the vaccines. Goodness, we have them available to us. I remember in the Philippines talking to friends and family in the Philippines where people are fighting to get vaccinated and getting in line to get vaccines, whereas here it's free, and we should be able to get people to be vaccinated.
That's true. And I have one last question. It's nothing to do with COVID. It's more personal.
Yes.
I know Ladores is your maiden name. I mean, your own family name. How did Andrew agree to that?
Andrew, you want to tell the story? This is a fun story. More secrets here, Mindy. Manny, I think, knows the story already.
Well, I don't.
So you are correct. That is Sigrid's maiden name. And we had been married maybe about 2 years. And I just don't really have a connection to my family name. And started talking to Sigrid about taking her last name. And, of course, that surprised her.
I thought it was a joke.
And so at the time, her parents were still living in California. So when we went to visit, I just asked her dad if it was okay if I changed my last name to Ladores, because I felt really a much stronger connection to everyone in the family. I was, accepted really right away by the family. And, now it's 23 years, that Sig and I have been together total. I have wonderful relationships with everyone in the family. I talk to the aunts and uncles and cousins, myself just having nothing to do with it.
He talks to them more than I do. True.
And so it just felt right. And,
It's nice.
For my children, I thought it would be kind of like a little bit of a gift to my in-laws, because at the time that we were making this decision, Sig and I were the only ones that were thinking about having children, and out of all of her siblings, even though she's the youngest, we were the only ones married.
Oh, I see.
And so I wanted to, have the family name carry on in the event, no one else got married or had kids.
I should have thought of that.
At least it would have been one more generation. Yeah.
Thank you.
So yes,
Thank you.
He went to ask my dad for permission because I told him, I said, I think it's great. That would be awesome. We would be different, right? Who's ever heard
That's
of
right.
a husband taking
Wife's
the wife's last name? But we've always been atypical, I would say. We're non-traditional. And so I said to him, well, it's not just my last name. It's actually my dad's last name. So it's not mine to give. I think you should ask my dad for permission. And that's what he did.
Wow.
And so my dad thought he was joking. This kano is very funny.
Yeah, so most people ask, the parents for the daughter's hand, and so instead I asked for the name.
Okay, now I know.
Well, it confuses people, Mindy, when they see all of us and they know my last name is Ladores, and then they're like, but how come your white husband has
Ladores
too?
I see.
But yeah, that's the story.
All right. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Great stories.
That's great. What?
Great stories.
Great story, right? Yeah.
And that is all that we have for this episode. I want to thank our guests, Sigrid, Andrew, Cooper, and Asher Ladores, and my co-host, Mindy Ofiana, our director and producer, Rodney Cajudo, Carol Robles, PNAA Chair for Communications and Marketing, our advisor, PNAA Foundation President Nancy Hoff, and our executive producers, PNAA President Dr. Mary Joy Garcia Dia, and the PNAA Executive Director, Carmina Bautista. Join us every Wednesday here on Rise Up. Until then, keep on rising. See you next week. This publication was made possible by Cooperative Agreement CDC RFA IP 21-2106 from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Its contents are solely the responsibility of the authors and do not necessarily represent the official views of CDC HHS.